believe that I should first, in a sense, give you a short description of my life. Next month, I turn 76, and it has been a long, long journey because I am, first of all, a Roman Catholic, secondly, a Benedictine monk. Thirdly, I tell people I am a closet Presbyterian. I say that because I hold a Doctor of Ministry degree from Princeton Seminary, and while I was doing the DMin degree and finished it in '96, I was walking across campus, and the president kind of one day saw me and kind of had a description of who the DMin people were. There were only 12 of us. And he said, "You Dave Turner?" And I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "What's a nice Catholic kid like you doing in this hellhole of Calvinism?" Well, I'd like to really tell you a little bit about my life and interests and how I got mixed up in all of this kind of work. It really goes back to my childhood. And one of the things that my mother could never understand was my ecumenical streak as a child of 10. I would go down and she'd ask me where I was going, and I'd tell her I was going down to the Brentford Bible Church for their summer Bible study. I was 10. But we didn't have anything like that in my Catholic school, and so I began listening to various sides of the world and the gospel. When I went to college, I went to what is now Benedictine University, St. Procopius College at the time. And what attracted me was the fact that the community, the Benedictine community, was ecumenical in a way, in that it had as one of its major apostolic works the work for church unity, specifically with Orthodox Christians. In 1925, the community began running a Byzantine Rite seminary. So by the time I got there, we were what was called a biritual house. We celebrated the Eucharist both in the Latin and in the Eastern ways. What happened was that in 1957, the year of my novitiate, we held what was called the First Unionistic Congress. It was during this Congress that I met Orthodox bishops, priests, people from various parts of the world, and began seeing the necessity of living out that command of Christ, that all would be one. And in fact, we held another Unionistic Congress in '59 and another one in '60, and those were always looking to how will we communicate with one another. And it became a very beautiful element because what we began to do is look as how we would speak, how we would discuss, how we would share. And before you know it, we began seeing that the details were not that important. The real root of everything was. So we began seeing the unity that came through Eucharist, the unity that would come through prayer, the unity that would come from various other kinds of ways of meeting with one another. And as a result, I joined the community because I was so enamored in a way by the work that they intended to do. But I learned a major lesson, and this may seem rather strange, but I became very, very friendly with an Orthodox bishop during one of those unionistic congresses. And one day he sat me down and he said, "David, if you would really like to know the secret, give up by ritualism." That kind of shook me a little. But this bishop said, "Love us, welcome us, understand us, but don't try to be us." And what he was referring to was the fact that Rome had given us the ritual, the faculties to be by ritual, that I could say Mass in either the Latin or the Byzantine Rite. And I began understanding how this love of the other was the most important, shall we say, root stone, bottom line call. And with the Vatican Council, we gradually drifted away from the bi-ritualism, but nonetheless, we took very seriously the Vatican documents, the documents that spoke of ecumenism, but most of all, the document that spoke of that whole matter of freedom of conscience. Because what we have to do in the respect of the other is let the other know the love of Christ. Because in the bringing of that love of Christ to the other, we are going to learn that unity in faith. I think it's an important element, and this is why I say that John's book is so important, is because it tells us all these steps. It tells us what we need to know, what we need to share. Of course, my relationship with John goes back a long, long time, because that ecumenical kind of spirit within me led me to say yes as a young priest to belonging to the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And it was there that I met Hutzi Hertzberg, and Hutz then introduced me to John, and we got to know about the different things we were doing. But I was kind of a Roman Catholic representative on the Fellowship of Christian Athletes board. But what it was a way of joining the students who did come to St. Procopius, Benedictine University, who would bring the faith together. I naturally met a lot of people in that point of athletes that we played ball with. My 10 minutes are up.